Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Friday, March 21st, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today will reach 77.8 degrees with a low of 54.0, making for a pleasant spring day. Coming up on today's show, we'll examine the potential winners and losers in Trump's controversial proposal to eliminate the Department of Education, analyzing what this could mean for students, teachers, and educational institutions across the country. Then, we'll investigate why Californians face such significant hurdles when challenging mental health insurance claim denials, exploring the systemic issues that leave many patients struggling to access the care they need. We'll break down the complex regulations and share stories of those caught in the middle of these insurance battles. Stay with us for these important stories. In a major education policy shift, President Trump has signed an executive order to begin dismantling the Department of Education. This fulfills one of his campaign promises that has long been a goal for many conservatives. Joining us now with more details is our education correspondent, Ethan Thompson. Ethan, what exactly does this executive order entail?
Grace, this is indeed a seismic shift in federal education policy. According to BBC News, the executive order directs Education Secretary Linda McMahon to take steps toward closing the department and returning authority over education to states and local communities. It's worth noting that while the president has signed this order, completely eliminating the department would require congressional approval.
So this isn't a complete schools out forever situation just yet. What happens to critical education programs that many Americans rely on?
Well, that's where things get a bit textbook complicated. The White House has stated, according to reporting from the Star Tribune citing an Associated Press report, that certain critical functions will be maintained, including Title I funding for low-income schools, Pell Grants, and money for children with disabilities. However, there appears to be some contradiction in the order itself, which suggests the Education Department lacks sufficient staff to oversee its massive $1.6 trillion loan portfolio and should transfer those banking functions elsewhere.
Can you give our viewers some background on the Department of Education and its current role?
Certainly. The Department of Education was established in 1979 under President Jimmy Carter. According to Forbes, it currently has a budget of approximately $238 billion as of 2024 and employs about 4,400 people. BBC News emphasizes that contrary to what some might think, the department doesn't actually set school curricula. That's handled by states and local districts. Instead, it administers student loans and Pell Grants, supports students with disabilities and those in poverty, and enforces civil rights laws in federally funded schools.
I imagine there are some significant legal hurdles to overcome. What are experts saying about the legality of this move?
You could say the administration is facing a real pop quiz on constitutional law here, Grace. Legal experts cited by Forbes suggest that fully dismantling the Education Department would likely require congressional approval. Even Secretary McMahon acknowledged during her confirmation hearing that congressional action would be necessary for complete elimination. The Star Tribune reports that legal challenges are expected, and according to Forbes, 21 state attorneys general have already filed lawsuits, arguing that McMahon doesn't have the authority to eliminate programs created by statute.
Has the administration already started making changes to the department?
Yes, they've been giving the department a serious grade reduction. Forbes reports that earlier this month, the Education Department announced plans to cut its workforce in half. The Star Tribune adds that cuts have already been made to the Office for Civil Rights and the Institute of Education Sciences.
What's been the reaction from various stakeholders?
It's created quite a division problem, Grace. According to the Star Tribune, conservative groups like the Heritage Foundation are celebrating the move as a victory. Meanwhile, public school advocates and civil rights organizations like the NAACP have expressed serious concerns, fearing this could lead to unequal education systems and harm vulnerable students. Critics argue the dismantling could increase class sizes, reduce access to higher education, and diminish protections for students with disabilities.
How might this affect federal funding for schools across the country?
That's a key question. The Star Tribune notes that federal funding accounts for about 14% of public school budgets, relatively small, but crucial for supplemental programs serving vulnerable students. According to Perplexity, states might receive block grants, allowing them more flexibility with federal funds, but this could potentially weaken essential programs and protections. Some education experts worry this approach might deepen inequalities if states prioritize certain programs over others or lack resources to manage them effectively.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Ethan. I'm sure we'll be following this educational evolution closely in the days ahead.
Absolutely, Grace. This is just the first chapter in what's likely to be a lengthy textbook on education reform under the current administration.
In our second story this morning, we turn to a critical issue affecting mental health patients across California. Insurance denials for mental health treatment have become increasingly common, leaving many without the care they desperately need. Joining us to discuss new legislation aimed at addressing this problem is our health policy reporter, Chloe Bennett. Good morning, Chloe.
Good morning, Grace. This is indeed a pressing issue that's causing what many are calling an insurmountable problem for mental health patients across the state. According to Cap Radio, California lawmakers are considering a package of bills that would increase oversight of mental health insurance denials, which have long been a source of frustration for patients seeking necessary treatment.
What exactly is being proposed to address these denials?
The centerpiece of this reform effort is the Health Insurance Accountability Act, or SB 363, introduced by Senator Scott Wiener. He's described the current appeals process for denials as burdensome, opaque, and time-consuming. The bill would require health plans to report detailed data on coverage denials to the state and would penalize plans with high rates of overturned denials. While it applies to all types of medical care denials, it could have significant implications for mental health treatment specifically.
That sounds like a potential policy prescription for a serious problem. How widespread is the issue of mental health care access in California?
It's quite extensive, Grace. Cap Radio reports that more than half of Californians report difficulty finding mental health providers who accept their insurance. This persists despite California's Mental Health Parity Act, which mandates that mental health care should be covered equally to physical health care. What's particularly troubling is that, according to data cited by Perplexity, over 70% of mental health denials are overturned on appeal, suggesting widespread wrongful denials.
Those are alarming statistics. What kind of penalties would insurers face under this new legislation?
The penalties could be substantial and would escalate with repeated violations. According to Cap Radio, if more than half of an insurer's denials are overturned on appeal, they could face fines of at least $50,000 for a first violation, between $100,000 and $400,000 for a second violation, and no less than $1 million per case for subsequent violations. It's designed to create a strong financial incentive for insurers to get their approval processes right the first time.
Are there other bills being considered alongside SB 363?
Yes, there's quite a comprehensive package being considered. Cap Radio reports that AB 669 would prevent health plans from reassessing a patient's need for substance use treatment until at least 28 days after initial approval. AB 384, known as the Mental Health Protection Act, would prohibit health plans from requiring prior authorization for inpatient mental health and substance use treatment. AB 980 would define medically necessary care to include legally prescribed care that aligns with medical community standards. And AB 1032 would require health insurers to reimburse enrollees from a disaster zone for up to 12 visits with a licensed behavioral health provider in the year following a wildfire.
How has the insurance industry responded to these proposed changes?
Interestingly, the California Association of Health Plans has not yet commented on SB 363. According to Perplexity, they're still reviewing the bill language. This suggests that insurance companies are carefully assessing the potential impact on their operations and finances. There are concerns that these measures could potentially lead to higher premiums for consumers, though similar transparency requirements in states like Connecticut and Oregon haven't resulted in significant premium increases.
Who's supporting these reform efforts?
Organizations like Children Now and the California Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry are backing SB 363, according to Cap Radio. They emphasize the need for prompt access to mental health care, especially given that mental health issues continue to be a major cause of hospital admissions among youth in California. The director of the Department of Managed Healthcare has also expressed openness to requiring more information about coverage denials, suggesting potential regulatory support for the proposed reforms.
Well, it sounds like these bills could provide some much-needed therapy for California's mental health insurance system. Thank you, Chloe, for that comprehensive report on these important legislative efforts.
You're welcome, Grace. It's certainly a development worth watching closely as these bills make their way through the legislature.
Here are some other headlines. A federal judge has blocked Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency from accessing sensitive Social Security Administration systems containing Americans' personal information. U.S. District Judge Ellen Lipton Hollander described DOGE's attempts as a fishing expedition, lacking concrete evidence of fraud. The judge criticized the team for seeking unlimited access to SSA records without clear justification, noting the irony that DOGE employees' identities were protected while millions of Americans' data was being exposed. The ruling requires DOGE to destroy any non-anonymized personal data already obtained and prohibits further access unless team members complete training and provide detailed explanations for their data needs. The decision came in response to a lawsuit filed by labor unions and advocacy groups concerned about privacy violations. Britain's Heathrow Airport was completely shut down on Friday, following a major fire at an electrical substation located 2 miles from the facility. The blaze, which began late Thursday night, knocked out both primary and backup power supplies, affecting over 16,300 homes and forcing 150 nearby residents to evacuate. London Fire Brigade deployed 70 firefighters and 10 fire engines to battle the fire, which took approximately 7 hours to bring under control. The closure disrupted more than 1,350 flights at one of the world's busiest international hubs, with passengers advised to avoid traveling to the airport and many flights diverted to alternative airports, including Gatwick and Charles de Gaulle. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. Maryland faces potentially massive financial liability as thousands allege sexual abuse in the state's juvenile detention centers. A Department of Justice report revealed that over 36% of youths at Backbone Mountain Youth Center reported sexual victimization, significantly above the national average. Multiple facilities are implicated, including the Alfred D. Noyes Children's Center and Charles H. Hickey Jr. School. The 2023 Maryland Child Victim Act has extended the statute of limitations for childhood sexual abuse claims, allowing survivors to seek compensation for incidents that occurred decades ago. Victims report severe psychological trauma, including depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. Voters across America are increasingly pushing back against legislative attempts to overturn citizen-approved ballot initiatives. In Missouri, voter-approved measures on abortion access and minimum wage increases face legal challenges despite clear public support. Ohio voters recently rejected a proposal that would have made it harder to amend the state constitution, preserving the power of ballot initiatives. Many citizens view these legislative efforts as undemocratic power grabs that undermine direct democracy and betray public trust. The resistance reflects voters' determination to ensure their voices are heard directly in policymaking. Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu has arrived in Pyongyang to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, marking the latest high-level exchange between the two nations. The visit comes amid strengthening ties between Russia and North Korea, with Pyongyang having deployed thousands of troops to support Russia's conflict with Ukraine. International concerns are growing about potential technology transfers, including advanced missile systems, from Russia to North Korea. The meeting follows a recent visit by Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko to Pyongyang, with speculation about a possible visit by Kim to Russia for May's Victory Day celebrations. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King, with Claude Sonnet 3.7, Gemini Flash 2.0, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.